There's a rich history of co-ops on the coast, especially in Astoria. We have a history of a plywood mill co-op, a cannery co-op, and of course our own local food co-op. The co-ops of the past, the plywood mill co-op and the cannery co-ops, formed as a way for workers to get better working conditions, and they pooled their resources together to have something that they couldn't have as individuals, and it was an alternative to sole proprietorships. And that's similar for our consumer-owned co-op. We have over 5,000 members that have pooled together to build and own our co-op.
The Cannery Pier Hotel and Spa sits on top of a pier that was once the site of the Union Fishermen Cooperative Packing Company. It was formed in 1897 with many fishermen who got together because they wanted to make sure that they were getting a fair share for their labor, for the fish that they caught. And in order to be a part of the co-op, they all pitched in $100 each to be a part of this. It was a lot of money at the time, but they thought that it was worth it for them in order to have a voice into the fruit of their labor, literally. The co-op was very strong and it went on for many, many decades. It was until the 70s when the salmon fishing was not as robust. It wasn't until 1993, thereabout, where Jake Jacob thought of this brilliant idea of building a hotel. The hotel was built in August 2005, and as we're sitting here today, we're sitting on 498 piers. We're the same place where the Union Fishermen Co-op sat, and so the hotel will always be a part of the history, and the co-op was the reason why we're here today and why the hotel is able to be a part of that.
The Astoria Plywood Cooperative opened in 1870, and it sustained hundreds of families for over a century. When it closed, the city was left with an environmental cleanup, and they embarked upon that with a gentleman named Art DeMuro. He had a vision for redeveloping this location, and what's really neat is that he envisioned our particular corner of the property that we now inhabit with the co-op as something that would reflect the community and serve the community. So it's really neat that we brought the late Art DeMuro's vision to life with the Astoria Food Co-op there. The Astoria Co-op started like a lot of the food co-ops in the country did in the mid-70s as a small buying club. People wanted access to healthy foods they couldn't get locally. Ours in particular started in the garage of Rita Brown and her then husband Peter Hudala, and people started accessing those foods together.
My husband and I wanted to help the community. We wanted to empower our community and bring people together. We wanted to take control of our food source and have a more direct line to our food. People were moving towards more organic food, more natural food, less processed, less additives, whole grains, and we wanted to commit to an alternative lifestyle where people's needs were more important than profit.
And also to buy in bulk and spare the packaging. That
Yes.
was a real
Good.
important issue. I was nominated and somehow got the job of being the volunteer manager to put it together. We set up a store, and then I ordered the product, and we had volunteer cashiers.
A group of us could get together and say, let's split a 50-pound bag of beans or rice or whatever. We would have 6 day managers. And we were not volunteers because we got paid 75 cents worth of food credit per hour. By golly.
We had a meeting every month at the Natal Grange, and we had potluck and a dance with live music after every meeting.
In 1974, I became very involved when it became a storefront, and stayed involved, very involved until 1984, and I did just about everything there was to do.
I was really pleased when I got here in 1975 that the co-op was going, and so I immediately became active. Eventually formed a workers' cooperative corporation that contracted with the community store to operate it, we still had lots of volunteers.
I arrived in Astoria in 1978 and had worked as a volunteer in co-ops all throughout the Bay Area. So I knew how to be a helpful volunteer. And the store was organized with its retail presence. When I showed up, I became just a regular volunteer. You did whatever needed to get done for maybe a year or two, and then got wrapped up in this Community Workers Inc. And the reorganization. And yet the daily work remained the same.
And then the co-op organically grew to another location, and then it grew to another location. And I like the phrase organically growing because it was as it responded, as more and more people were aware of food. And I think all the varied people, including ourselves, did a good job of getting the larger public. I mean, the people that shop here now are not part of that very select countercultural group that was very, very much the beginning.
The store transitioned from a nonprofit entity to an official consumer-owned cooperative in 2004.
Nonprofit was a good status for the first couple of decades, and then being a real co-op was it was a very good change.
In 2019, we relocated the co-op for the fourth time in our over 40-year history. After an extensive period of time listening to the community and hearing what they would want the co-op to develop into, we heard that they wanted a full-service grocery store with a full-service deli, for example, and we made that happen in this new location. And we had a goal of doing that without alienating our core founding member audience, but at the same time making the co-op more accessible to a lot more people. And we think we've been really successful so far in doing that.
I think it's remarkable that we were able to get this property, which had been the plywood mill cooperative. So we're keeping this little patch of ground cooperative. It's fun.
I think the new store here is wonderful. When I walked in the door, I almost burst into tears because we had come so far from where we started.
And Matt is doing an amazing job of managing.
There's a culture here so that when new people come to work here, they feel good and they let that show.
So now our new co-op operates in a hyper-competitive natural foods environment. Our co-op used to be the only place where you could get organic, local foods, and that's not entirely true anymore. And so we continue, though, to be important because we provide a place where local workers can have a fair wage and work in a respectful, safe environment, and where we can keep the local economy circulating local dollars instead of going off to distant shareholders, which is what happens when we shop at non-co-op grocery stores. And so we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the founding members for starting this endeavor, and we're proud to have them still shopping and supporting the co-op over 40 years later.